breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, morning, my friendly hello. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Tanner Kern, who does such great work over at DraftKings. He also does a great job with his own podcast, Ride the Line Podcast. He is a man that is based out there in the lovely city of Boston, and we have to chat with him about what we're all seeing with the Red Sox. Their streak did not end yesterday because, well, he did not play yesterday, but how has he been taking a look at this Red Sox team? What does he make out of their double dip here for Wednesday, the American League playoff picture, and so much more. So we're going to have some fun there in the final segment. I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, RCM, name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, and we did unfortunately get 2 games rained out on Tuesday. We did have ourselves a fun day of baseball on Tuesday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
2-1, the LA Dodgers get the job done against the Philadelphia Phillies. Justin Robleski continues to be tremendous for this Dodgers team. 7 punch-outs, 6 1/3 innings, allows 1 run. Evan Phillips, he gets a scoreless inning, and Tanner Scott, he had men on second and third with no outs, and then the Phillies, they managed to get both the man on third and the man on second out without getting a single run out of it. That was not great, to say the least. Big time running blunder there, but Tanner Scott, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Zach Whelan and Dylan Wheeler, solid start here. 2 runs allowed over the course of 7 innings, was taken deep by Max Muncy, 19th home run season, but Jose Alvarado, Jonathan Bolin, they both landed scoreless inning, but just nothing doing for the Philadelphia Phillies at the plate. Whole heck of a lot doing for these guys at the plate, though. As for the San Diego Padres, they slammed the Atlanta Braves, just by a count of 8-3 for the Padres. Fernando Tatis Jr. had a tank shot. It was a slow start to the season for him. I think he's now had 3 home runs since the All-Star break, his 8th of the campaign. Jackson Merrill also went deep, 13th home run season. That comes out the starter, Reynaldo Lopez, who gives up 5 runs over the course of 4 1/3 innings, including 2 bombs. The other home run to Manny Machado. For Machado, his 21st home run season, and then he would go deep a little bit later on off of J.R. Ritchie, who also gave up that home run to our good friend in Mr. Fernando Tatis Jr. That was his 22nd home run of the season for Ritchie. Gives up 3 runs over the course of 3 2/3 innings, including those 2 bombs. And with Tyler Kinley, he goes for an inning scoreless out of the bullpen, but way too little, way too late there. Meanwhile, for Walker Buehler, not a bad start here. He does walk 5, but he limits the damage. He only gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 2/3 innings. From there, Yuki Matsui gets a pair of outs out of the bullpen, gives up a run. Along the way, Bradley Rodriguez, pair of outs scoreless. Adrian Morejon, scoreless inning. Mason Miller strikes out the side for a scoreless inning of his own. For the Chicago Cubs, they score big, 11-2. They take down the Detroit Tigers. Framber Valdez, 2/3 of an inning, and he gives up 6 runs, all of which were earned. He gave up 4 runs before he got his first out in this one. And David Peterson finally put it together for the Chicago Cubs. 6 2/3 innings, scoreless. Aaron Civale is back in Chicago, by the way. I think this is his 3rd tour of duty in Chicago in 2 years. 2 runs allowed in 2 1/3 innings, taken deep by Dylan Dingler. 22nd home run of the campaign, and for the Cubs, they go 6 of 20 with men in scoring position. Ty Madden, not bad here. 1 run allowed in 3 1/3 innings. Brennan Enfield gives up 2 runs in his 2 innings of work, taken deep by Michael Conforto. 9th home run season. Zach McKinstry, position player. 2 runs allowed in an inning. Jake Rogers, position player. He goes for a scoreless inning as well. Rogers actually could be a pitcher if he really wanted to. He's not bad, but yeah, that's not a place where you want to be. The Walker Texas Rangers are finding themselves back in a little bit more of a place where they want to be. 18 hits, 10 runs. They shut out the Chicago White Sox 10-0. Noah Schultz did not have it on this day. 11 hits, 5 runs allowed in 3 2/3 innings. Tyler Schweitzer gives up 3 runs in 2 2/3 innings. Taken deep in this game by Wyatt Langford. 11th home run season, Brandon Nimmo would take Schultz deep. His 7th home run season, Trevor Richards, pair of outs out of the bullpen, gives up 2 runs. Luanel Acuna, position player, a shutout inning of his own. And Kumar Rocker gives up 1 hit and no runs in 6 shutout innings. And then 3 scoreless from Marco Gonzalez. Yes, that Marco Gonzalez we haven't seen in like an eon and a half. Yay, verily there. And yay, verily to the Guardians. 5-2. They take down the Minnesota Twins. For the Twins, Kendrys Rojas got the start 2 1/3 innings. He gives up 2 runs along the way. Mike Paredes in a little bit of a bulk roll gives up 2 runs in his 3 innings. You had Taylor Rogers give up a run in 1 1/3 innings. You did have 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless from Jack Anderson. I believe that this was like his 2nd or 3rd career appearance, and Parker Messick just continues to be solid. 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 5 2/3 innings. Taken deep by Ryan Jeffers, 9th home run of the campaign. From there, Colin Olderman out of the bullpen scoreless. Sean Armstrong, he comes in for a pair of outs scoreless. Hunter Gaddis, 4 outs scoreless, and Cade Smith, 29th save of the season, a scoreless 9th inning out of him. Kevin Gausman just getting absolutely waxed right now. 12-2, the Tampa Bay Rays. They get the job done against the Blue Jays. For Gausman, 5 runs, 4 of which were earned in 3 1/3 innings. Mason Flaherty, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Luzardo Estrada, 3 runs allowed over the course of 2 innings, and he was taken deep in this one. Nick Fortes, 4th home run of the season. Yandy Diaz later on off of Patrick Corbin. He gets his 14th home run of the season. Corbin, 4 runs allowed in 2 1/3 innings. Miles Straw, position player, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And for Drew Rasmussen, gives up 2 runs in 5 innings. Cole Sulzer, 2 shutout innings. Garrett Clevenger and Craig Kimbrell, they score scoreless 8th and 9th innings. The Kansas City Royals keep things low, scoring 3-2. They take down the San Francisco Giants as Tyler Bally, he gets mauled. 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Carter Jensen, 14th home run of the season. Bullpen from there was solid. Sam Entages, Keaton Wynn, combined for a shutout inning. Dylan Smith and Caleb Killian, they both give you a scoreless inning. And Luinder Avila, pretty solid start here. 2 runs allowed in 6 1/3 innings. From there, Matt Strahm, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. John Schreiber, Alex Lang are both able to give you a scoreless inning. For the Milwaukee Brewers, this was uncharacteristic. They get shut out. The New York Mets, who have been your least profitable team in all of baseball by far, they do find a way to be able to persevere here by a count of 4-0. As for the Mets, a really nice start from Zach Thornton. 6 shutout innings. Luke Weaver, Brooks Raley, Devin Williams, they all ended scoreless inning. Brandon Sproat, I mean, this wasn't awful from him. It wasn't great. He gives up 2 runs over the course of 4 2/3 innings, and he was taken deep by Mr. Jacob Young, 7th home run season, but could have been worse. And then you had Bryce Wilson, yes, that Bryce Wilson, who I think he's been on like 3 different teams this season already. He gives up a solo home run in his 4 innings of work as Luis Robert. He gets his 3rd home run of the campaign. Chad Patrick gives you an out of the bullpen scoreless. I mean, who's Bryce Wilson going to be ending up with next? Who nobody knows, but that was interesting. And for the Brewers, just absolutely nothing to do at the plate for them. Not a lot doing for these guys at the plate as well. For the Miami Marlins, they do fall by a count of 5-3 to the Houston Astros. Tetsuya Amai goes 6 innings. He gives up just 1 run. From there, AJ Bluebot does give up a pair of runs at his inning of work. Joe Mack, his 9th home run of the season, but Bennett Sosa, Josh Hader, they both on a scoreless inning. And Tyler Phillips, not long for the game. 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 4 1/3 innings, was cranked deep in this game by Jeremy Pena, 8th home run of the season. Then Isaac Paredes, his 13th home run of the season off of Tyler Zuber. Zuber gives up a pair of runs in his 2/3 of an inning of work. Ryan Gusto, May Gusto, the fact they gave you 2 shutout innings. And Zach Baziski, he was able to come in for a shutout inning, but too little, too late out there. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, they persevere against the Athletics by a count of 4-2. Jack Perkins, 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, was taken deep by Max Kepler, his 2nd home run of the campaign. Brady Basso, scoreless inning from there. Jeff Hartlieb gives up a run in a 1/3 of an inning. Jose Suarez, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Elvis Alvarado was in the building for a scoreless inning. But Cole Drake, in his first career start, very solid here for the Diamondbacks. 1 run allowed over the course of 5 innings. Taylor Clark, Juan Mario, they both give you a scoreless inning. Ryan Thompson does give up home run to Shea Langoliers. Shea bangs his 23rd home run of the campaign, but Paul Sewald from there, scoreless 9th inning to be able to preserve that W. Being able to get the W, how about the Colorado Rockies? 8-7, they take down the Washington Nationals. Carson Palmquist as the opener gives up 4 runs in 1 2/3 innings, and then Miles Michaelis, not a lot better from there. 3 runs allowed in 3 2/3 innings. Cranked deep in this one by Mickey Moniak, his 16th home run of the season, and Hunter Goodman is a good man. He takes Clayton Beeter deep, his 31st home run of the season. Beeter got beaten. He gives up that home run in his inning of work. Orlando Robalta, pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Matt Crook, a squirrel inning of his own, and Michael Lorenzen, this was not what he was looking for. 6 runs allowed in 3 2/3 innings, cranked deep twice by C.J. Abrams. 23rd and 24th home runs of the campaign. As a matter of fact, for the Washington Nationals, they were up 6-5 going to the 4th inning, and then they would only score 1 run on the bullpen. Jimmy Harrogate gives up a run in an inning, but Brandon Bernardino, 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Victor Vodnik, Juan Mejia, and Jordan Romano, they all end a scoreless inning. And then for the LA Angels, they get a rare win, 5-1 over the St. Louis Cardinals. Matthew Liberatore, his rough year continues. 5 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. Jordan sets fire to the rain. 15th home run of the season, and Juan Urena does not Urena all over this game. 1 run allowed in 6 innings. From there, Mitch Ferris, Chase Silseth combined for 2 shutout innings. Ryan Zephyr on a scoreless inning. And then you did have Matt Savancia give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And Scott Blewett, well, he did not live up to his name. He did not blow it. 2 shutout innings for the St. Louis Cardinals. Wrapping up the night, the Cincinnati Reds, well, they were on to a win over the Seattle Mariners. This by a count of 4-2 as for Chase Burns, he continues to be tremendous here for the Reds. Only 5 innings, but 5 shutout innings. From there, Sam Mullen out of the bullpen squirrels. DJ Antone, he goes for 4 outs and does give up a home run to Weston Wilson, his 3rd home run of the season. Then Julio Rodriguez, his 15th home run of the season, as that one comes off of Mr. Julian Garcia, who gives up a solo home run in his inning work, but you were able to get a pair of scoreless innings as Emilio Pagan is able to close out the 9th inning of Brock and Rollberg, and out of the bullpen squirrels. And Luis Castillo against his old team, 3 runs allowed in 7 innings, was taken deep twice, as for Eugenio Suarez, another guy going up against his old team, 13th home run of the season. Ellie De La Cruz, his 17th, and then Nathaniel Lowe gets low for his 12th home run of the season. That comes off of Michael Rucker, gives up a solo home run in his inning work, and then Jose Ferrer, he was able to get a scoreless inning as well. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it has been an overwhelming season for the most part, but unders are starting to be able to get there. 740 overs, 740 unders, and if that serves me correct, I believe we've now had 37 pushes along the way as well. Favorites on the money line hitting at 56.1%, 826 and 646 on the money line, but among those favorites, 194 have failed to cover the run line. Last 30 days of Major League Baseball, favorites are hitting at about 58%, 201 and 146, and 48 of those 201 favorites failed to cover the run line. Meanwhile, the over rate, that's hovering right in the neighborhood of only about 46.7%, 165 overs, 189 unders, and math serves me correct, we have had 13 pushes along the way, and if you're looking at the last 7 days in Major League Baseball, favorites are hitting at just a hair above 55%, 38 and 31 on the money line, but 10 of those 38 favorites failed to cover the run line. Meanwhile, the under 8 hovering right around about 53 or so percent, give or take, 33 overs, 38 unders, and 3 pushes along the way. So that's what we're seeing in Major League Baseball right now, and that's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming next, let's chat it up with our good friend Tanner Kern of DraftKings right here on the Baseball Betting Show. Myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Tanner Kern aboard. He does such great work over at DraftKings, looking at so many things. This time of year, he does an absolutely amazing job on the baseball front, but additionally, I know he's done a great job getting set for some football. He did a great job during the World Cup. I mean, if you need hot dog eating contest stuff when it comes to the 4th of July, he does a great job there. You're able to follow him on Twitter/X at his first and last name, Tanner Kern, and underscore after that. And also does a great job with our good friend Graham Mitchell on the Ride the Line podcast as well. And it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Greg. Always a pleasure to be on.
Always great to be able to get you on, and it's especially great to get you on right now because you're based out there in the lovely city of Boston. And for the Red Sox, they still have their 14-game win streak intact. We weren't sure if it was going to go by the wayside or not on Tuesday, but hey, hard to lose a game when you don't play one. They're going to be playing a double dip here on Wednesday instead, but how are you taking a look at this Red Sox team right now who have come out just so hot in these last few weeks? And I mean, certainly they can't keep winning forever, but it just feels like they keep finding ways to be able to get the job done.
You know, they can't keep winning forever, obviously, but it feels like they have the opportunity to with how they played. I mean, Caleb Durbin having a home run the other night, just timely hitting, something that we haven't seen from Boston a lot this season. Now we're starting to get it. And the biggest thing I've noticed with them is just how much they fight now. This is a team that used to roll over and die pretty quickly in games. You go down 2-0, 3-0, especially the game was over. You know, they've overcome deficits pretty much every time they've gone down during this run. They've been able to answer the exact next inning. So, or the bottom half of the inning if they're the home team. So it's been pretty impressive. They can beat anybody in the American League. They've proven that. You know, this is not a fluke run by any means. You can beat the Tampa Bay Rays, you can beat the New York Yankees, you can beat the Chicago White Sox. The American League's wide open right now. Boston has the pitching. Definitely need to add a bat or two if they're able to do that. I think there's no reason they can't end up in the ALCS if they keep going. So it's been a really fun run as a fan to watch and, a fun run just as an analyst covering it.
It has been absolutely wild. And how much do you think that they've actually benefited by getting out some of the veterans like Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, along with Trevor Story, have been out for much of this run? They've actually done it without Ranger Suarez, who he may or may not go on Wednesday. We will be seeing this, but it just feels like it's been the youth movement for the Red Sox that's really carried them.
Well, the youth movement without the youth stars, right? Like you've had nothing from Marcelo Meyer. You've got nothing from Roman Anthony, who's been hurt and still not swinging a bat down in Florida, which is really concerning to me. But as far as the young guys go, like Anthony Siegler's come up and just been amazing. He's been one of the guys to know. Caleb Durbin's turnaround. I can't say enough about him, the ability to just be a guy who was in a situation where everybody was against him and he wasn't hitting to get into where he is now. It's been very impressive. It's a lot of guys battling for roster spots and led by hungry veterans like a Wilson Contreras. So it's surprising to see no Roman Anthony, no Marcelo Meyer, and they've been able to do what they do. But yeah, like keep Trevor Story away from the team. He's had a few productive months as the Boston Red Sox, but other than that, he's been terrible. So don't add him back in. Don't add IKF back in. Keep these guys away and keep the young movement going.
Yep, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they do at the trade deadline because that's coming up in less than 2 weeks. And I'm not sure about you, but taking a look at the futures market right now, it's very murky with all these American League teams because we don't know what any of them are going to do. Yeah, the Rays should be able to add a little bit, but they're a small market team. They're probably not going to be going out there making a significant splash or anything like that. And then we've got these teams like the Guardians who are slightly above 500. They're another small market team. What does a team like the Detroit Tigers do? You mentioned the Red Sox. You want to just disrupt what you've got going on right now. It just feels like it's a big giant hodgepodge and a mixed mash in terms of what we're going to get from these American League teams in about 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, looking ahead to the trade deadline, I think the Red Sox are going to be buyers, but there's not a lot of sellers in this market right now because when you look at just the wild card race in general, you got the Yankees 4.5 games up, you got Cleveland, you got Boston, Texas, Baltimore's 3 games back, Minnesota's 3 games back, Houston's 4.5. So like right, that 4.5 point is probably where you'd start to see somebody sell. Even for Houston, it looks like they might be ready to blow it up. So if they don't have a good week or two, I could easily see them making trades at the deadline. And then after that, you got Detroit, Toronto, the Athletics who have just fallen off. We used to talk about how the Athletics were surprising a lot of people. It's not the case anymore. The Royals, then the Angels. So for Houston, Jordan may be available. For Detroit, Scubal's going to be available probably. For Toronto, they may sell off some pieces too. For the Athletics, Shea Langoliers has been a name that's been floated, right? So you really just don't know who's going to be on the trading block and who's not. I think every team's going to be willing to listen to calls about sales and buying because that's pretty much where we're at with the American League right now. I mean, I'd say half the American League wildcard picture is viably in the mix.
Yep, it certainly is. As our good friend Tanner Kern, who does such great work over at DraftKings, he's joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And how about if we do dive in on that double dip that we're going to be seeing on Wednesday? We really can't go into game number 2. It was supposed to be Eduardo Rivera going in that game on Tuesday. May or may not be Rangers Suarez. I know that they were talking about he was feeling some general discomfort on Tuesday. That's why he was getting scratched from the start. But we do know that we're getting Dean Kramer going up against Jake Bennett in game number 1. When this game was peeled off the board, I was seeing an initial opener right around like a minus 140, minus 145 with Boston, total of 9.5. Want to get your thoughts here because I feel like we've got a clear picture for game 1. Game 2 at this point could be darn near anything.
Game 1, Jake Bennett's been fantastic. 5-3, 2.35 ERA, whip under 1. I mean, I think he's got the best whip in the American League. Dean Kremer has not been as good, but the whip's still 1.12, even though the ERA is above 4. Don't have the expected ERAs in front of me, but Jake Bennett's been good. The thing about Bennett is, though, he only throws 93 miles an hour, which has not bit him too hard this season. I mean, he's been awesome. But after the first few Jake Bennett starts, I'm like, yeah, this is just probably not going to be the case. And then he really locked in. He gave up 4 runs against Tampa in his second start. He gave up 4 runs against Tampa in his third start. And then ever since that Blue Jays start, they lost 3-0. He's been rock solid and was able to shut down Tampa in his last start too. So I think Jake Bennett's going to have a really good game here. I think he's going to be ready to go. I mean, he's a guy that's just super confident when he takes the mound. It's hard to go against him. It's hard to go against the Red Sox in general right now. I mean, what they've done offensively, defensively, everyone's stepping up and making plays. So I'd be betting on Boston until further notice, no matter who's on the mound.
Yeah, I tried to go against them over the weekend against the Tampa Bay Rays. I thought I had something there on Saturday, and then they decided, no, thanks, we're good. We're going to make sure that you take this loss here. So that was fascinating to say the least, but no doubt it has been a lot of fun to take a look at this run. And what else I think is going to be interesting, what we're going to be getting in Philadelphia. Like the Red Sox, no doubt about it, have been the hottest team in all of baseball, but for the Philadelphia Phillies, they were on such a bad run in the first month and a half of the season. All of a sudden, they're right back in the thick of things in the NL East race, but Aaron Nola's not been himself this year. Eric Lauer has been a disappointment for the Dodgers as well. Relative pick'em game, total of 9.5 to 10. How do you see this one? Because for the Phillies, they went on and they looked good early on in the series, but I feel like this could be a bounce back game for the Dodgers against a guy Nola that I just feel like has been overvalued for so long.
Yeah, Nola doesn't have it anymore. And, have a couple good innings, and then it gets away from him very, very quickly. 5.680 ERA, whip 1.45, 114 hits allowed in 103 innings. So anytime you're giving up over a hit an inning, you're not dominant. And plus the walks added in there. The Dodgers being a pick 'em here with Eric Lauer on the mound. Not saying I love what Eric Lauer has been able to do, but when you look at his past, it's two, let's see, three, four. I mean, he's had a quality start in 4 straight games, going 6 innings, giving up less than 3 earned. So he's been really good in those matchups. Only pitched against the Twins, the Athletics, and the Rockies. But this Dodgers offense, they're so good. And it's the reason they're the best team in baseball. So I think the Dodgers have the pitching edge. They have a really good bullpen. I think they're going to get it done here.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I think that when you've got two bad starting pitchers, you have to look at the better offense, and that certainly is the LA Dodgers here. As Tanner Kern, who does such great work over at DraftKings, he's joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and there's going to be a lot of games of intrigue here, and do we just continue to fade the New York Mets? It has been no good, bad, and terrible for them. Christian Scott is about plus 120, plus 125 as an underdog for the Mets, but I don't know about you, but I just learned my lesson a very, very long time ago with trying to both go against the Brewers and trying to bet on the Mets, and neither just have went very well for me this year.
Yeah, it's a tough situation here. I mean, I think the Brewers just do a better job putting the ball in play. They're more relentless offensively. I mean, they play small ball, and that's something the Mets, I mean, you got to get to a point in the season where you're 42-59. You have one of the highest payrolls in baseball, and you're just not going to go anywhere. And I think guys are ready to be traded. They know they're going to be traded. I mean, Mets came out and said, I think everybody but 5 players are on the trading block. Juan Soto obviously headlines the list of guys who are not available to be traded, but the Mets are ready to sell their entire team right now. So I'd be looking at the Brewers 33-18 at home. Really good pitching, really good bullpen, good pitcher on the mound, and Logan Henderson. I can't bet on the Mets right now. But for Milwaukee at the price point, it's definitely not worth it for me.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And a little bit of a wrinkle with the card that we've got here on Wednesday is that we're going to be having some double dips. We just talked about with the Red Sox, hard to take a look at game number 2 because we just don't know if Ranger Suarez is going to be going or not. We know that we're getting one between the Yankees and the Pirates, and it looks like Max Fried is going to be making his return as well. I was seeing that group through the grapevine. May or may not get one out there in Philadelphia as well, depending upon that game from Tuesday. And how do you take a look at doubleheaders? Because I do think that you can find some great edges here, but at the same time, it can be really murky to look at some of those game number 2s when you just don't know who's going to be pitching. And in my opinion, you just have to be keeping your head on a swivel in the AM because sometimes the pitcher that you think is going to go in game 1 actually goes in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, don't bet a game 2 before game 1. That would be my biggest advice. I usually try to stay away from doubleheaders as much as I can. I mean, there's obviously times where you can get really good edges. I'll usually look at game 1 and lock in on that, knowing teams are going to be all in. But like for the Red Sox, for example, like if they go game 1 and it's close and it's a hard fought victory and they extend the win streak to 15 and Aroldis Chapman has to go and all their star pitchers in the bullpen and they're really exhausted, like game 2 is probably going to be a little more difficult. Now, if you get a situation in a game 1 where a starter goes 6-7 innings, really dominant, you use a couple relievers in the process and the bullpen's fresh, that's a time where maybe you go back and trust that team later. But I think the one area, maybe it's just human nature, but I love betting teams who lose game 1 of a doubleheader in game 2, especially if their bullpen's fresher. That's kind of where I'll live with. But, like the Boston Red Sox, they just swept their last, day-night doubleheader, and it worked out for them, and not a lot of people thought they were going to do that. So they're hard to bet in general.
Yep, they can be a little bit tricky, especially these game number 2s where you're going to be getting like some sort of a bullpen game. That's where you really are rolling the dice there. When you get known starters, it becomes a little bit easier, but still, they can be a very, very fickle fiend, to say the least, and this has been very fickle. Taking a look at some of those teams in the National League as well, and I want to get your thoughts on this with the Washington Nationals being about a minus 130, minus 135 favorite against the Colorado Rockies. I've just been finding so much value on this Nationals team. Certainly the bullpen is not great, but they just keep slugging their way to victory, and with Cade Cavalli on the mound, I landed on betting on him once again.
Yeah, I mean, I love what the Rockies can do offensively. So I like what the Nationals can do offensively. You look at these lineups, and especially when they played the Red Sox, that was when I really focused on. I'm like, there's a lot of good hitters in these lineups, for both sides. I think Cade Cavalli's been okay. Gabriel Hughes definitely been a little better in limited action, though only 14 innings. Cade Cavalli over the course of the season, he's locked in. He's been solid, especially on the road. 4-2 with a 3.65 ERA. The ball's going to fly out in Colorado, as we know. It's a perfect park for James Wood, and even a guy like C.J. Abrams, who has 22 home runs on the season as well. Nationals took game 1 of the series 7-3. I think it's probably a pretty good spot for Washington here. Again, high price point, minus 140, but the Rockies have not shown a whole lot. They're 23-28 at home. So I'd be going with Washington here too.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And Tanner, we've got ourselves a great day of baseball on Wednesday. Bare minimum 17 games. If we get another rainout or two, it might be 18 or 19. Anything else that's really standing out to you?
I mean, a lot of fun games to watch. I'm looking forward to the Reds versus the Mariners. That impacts me with the Boston Red Sox in the playoff race, but I think that'll be good. I love watching Emerson Hancock pitch. I like watching this entire Mariners pitching staff go. I mean, they're a lot of fun, and Hancock's a guy that doesn't get a ton of love, but he's been fantastic with a 3 ERA and a whip right around 94 strikeouts, 99 innings, just keeps the ball in the yard, does a pretty nice job there. So I'll be looking forward to that. Also looking forward to Padres Braves. That'll be a good one. We have an undecided pitcher for the Braves, but Michael Kitten's going to go for the Padres. So that'll be fun. The Padres are a team that, if they're down, don't bet on because they're not going to fight back. But anytime we get a big time National League matchup like this, I'm always tuning in.
Yep, I always love these sorts of matchups as well, and I always love getting you aboard, Tanner. You're doing such great work over at DraftKings. You're doing a great job with the Ride the Line podcast, and so much more. So, love to get people at home know what's on tap for you, and how people can follow along on social media to other platforms.
You can find me at Tanner Kern across the board. Find me on the DraftKings Sportsbook social pages pretty much every day, and then my podcast, Ride the Line, on Tuesdays and Fridays with Grant Mitchell.
Absolutely. And Tanner, he's doing such great work looking at this amazing game of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights. So big thanks to Tanner for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always a pleasure to be joined by Tanner Kern, who does such great work over at DraftKings. He is absolutely tremendous at taking a look at this great game of baseball. It's out there in the city of Boston where they are experiencing a lot of winning right now, and every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights. So big thanks to Tanner for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. And we are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order. Any interleague games, those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So, but if we do get things started, this is going to be 9:01, 9:02 on the card. It's the Metropolitans on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers. Logan Henderson goes for the Crew. Christian Scott, Grace Scott, is on the bump for the Mets. The Mets who find themselves between plus 120 to plus 125, minus 142 to minus 150 is that number on the Brewers. Total in most places is a 7.5. On the 7.5 over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. I'm seeing a straight 8 out there as well. That under is minus 115 and the over is minus 105, and I am back in on the Brewers. I set this at a minus 156. Now I like the way that Christian Scott has been able to mow them down, get quite a few strikeouts, and keep the ball in the yard. Here's the issue that you got for Christian Scott though, the command, and he gives up a lot of walks, 287 ERA, but closer to 377 fielding dependent with the 3.9 walks per 9 innings. Now he has to face off against the Brewers team that really doesn't feast on the deep ball. For the Brewers, they're a bottom 5 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. They just small ball you to death, so I feel like this is going to be a recipe for disaster, to say the least. For the New York Mets, you've got a Brewers bunch that has Jake Bauers, who's been able to give you 17 plus home runs, and 1 through 7 in the order. Typically, every one of these guys is give you at least a 330 on base. Typically, the exception has actually been Christian Yelich, who's right at a 330 on base. He's actually been the disappointment for the team, but Bryce Terang, 14 bombs, about a 360 on base, 15 plus stolen bases. Jackson Trio, 10 plus stolen bags, despite missing over 20 games this year, 13 home runs. You just keep going down the list. Andrew Vaughn has been able to give you a 390 on base, and this is a Mets team that has been one of the worst offenses away from home in all of baseball. Frankly, they just have been one of the worst offenses, period, but away from home especially, dead last in the National League, averaging about 3.8 runs per game. Juan Soto's been good. Juan Soto's been able to give you 21 home runs, 400 plus on base, and A.J. Ewan moves the line. He and Carson Benj inning between about a 260 to a 270. Benj just give you 11 home runs, but Luis Robert's coming back. He's been a disappointment. Francisco Lindor is giving you nothing. You expected more out of Bo Bichette this year. I know that he's now hitting at 256, but man, really not moving the line. Marcus Semien is about as useful as a bag of balls at this point, and for the Mets, we are starting to see this bullpen really go downward as well. like what I've been seeing out of the likes of Oscar Brisbane, AJ Minter and company, but man, for Austin Warren, things have not been great there. Devin Williams just is not good to say the least. Luke Weaver's been great recently, but for the Milwaukee Brewers, they're another team that is a top 5 bunch in terms of bullpen ERA as well. For the Milwaukee Brewers, you've been able to get some good production out of the likes of Grant Anderson, Abdur Uribe, Trevor McGill. I'll give you a sub 350 ERA. Aaron Ashby has been a little bit up and down recently, but Chad Patrick is providing some good long relief as well. And for Logan Henderson, do think that he's going to be able to go out there and dominate. He has had a relatively small sample size, has pitched a little bit at the minors this season, but I really like what I've been seeing out of him. A 297 ERA compared to a 271 fielding depend, 10.3 strikeouts, 1.9 walks per 9. So I do think that the Brewers do enough for the over. Somebody told it at 8.2 in on the over, and for the Brewers, willing to lay up to minus 155 on the money line. 903, 904 on the card. The Nationals are going to be on the road against the Rockies. Gabriel Hughes goes for the Rockies, and it is one Mr. Cade Cavalli going for the Nationals, and the Nationals do find themselves anywhere between minus 132 to minus 140, between plus 112 to a plus 115 is that number on Colorado. 11.5 is the total. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. And for the Nationals, I'm willing to lay it. I set them at a minus 147. For Cade Cavalli, he has really done a solid job this season. I recognize that the ERA might not be the lowest in the world, but still not bad. He's right around about a 391 with his ERA, but closer to a 321 with regards to that fielding dependent, and he's been getting over 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's only giving up about 0.8 home runs per 9 innings as well, so he's really been able to do a good job of mowing them down. They need it because the bullpen has been relatively rough this year for the Washington Nationals. They find themselves in the bottom 8 in terms of bullpen ERA. PJ Poulin has been dealing with some injuries. Brad Lord, he has been out with injury as well, so Orlando Robalta now becomes probably your best reliever. Justin Lawrence has been a little bit better since leaving the Pirates, but man, these guys have not necessarily been amazing to say the least. And for Gabriel Hughes, in his 3 appearances, a 3.14 ERA was not bad at the minor league level. I think that there's a little bit of upside here, but I just can't make a lot out of 3 career appearances, only 2 of which were starts, and now he has to face off against the Washington Nationals team that's averaging darn near 5.5 runs per game. That is numero uno in all baseball, and he himself is backed up by a bullpen that is in the bottom 5 in terms of ERA as well. We're starting to see Antonio Senzatella experience some regression. It's been rough for these guys like a Victor Vodnik, Juan Mejia, Jaden Hill. These are all guys providing over a 4.50 ERA. Blas Castano is currently on the injury list, and for the Washington Nationals, you got James Wood giving you good wood, right around about a 400 on base with 28 home runs. CJ Abrams, Luis Garcia, 20 plus home runs. Curtis Mead, about a 350 or so on base, 17 home runs. Keibert Ruiz is moving the line. So, 1 through 9 is very fearsome for this bunch. And on the flip side for the Rockies, Hunter Goodman is a good man. He's been able to give you 30 home runs this season. Then you've got the likes of Mickey Moniak, Jake McCarthy, TJ Romfield, all in at least a 275. I'll give you at least a double-figure amount of homers. Troy Johnson, he's been able to turn near 300 as well. Need more out of Ezekiel Tovar, but I do think that in the end, the Washington Nationals just have a better offense in this one, and I trust in Cavalli a little bit more. And I do trust in Cavalli enough for the under. Somebody told 1.2. I'm in on the under, and I'm willing to lay up to minus 146 on the Nats money line. 905, 906 on the card. The Dodgers are going to be on the road facing off against the Philadelphia Phillies. Aaron Nola hopes to be super for the Phils. Eric Lauer goes for the Dodgers. The Dodgers are in a relative pick'em game here. Minus 110 to minus 112, minus 104 to minus 110 for the Phillies. 9.5 is the total, or is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And with the Dodgers, I did set them at a minus 124. I'm willing to go in on the money line. These are 2 struggling veterans, to say the least. As for Eric Lauer, he's giving up 2.1 home runs per 9 innings. He is only getting about 5.5 strikeouts per 9, so a 606 fielding dependent, 41 ERA. The fielding dependent for Aaron Nola is a little bit lower to 496, but he's giving up 2 home runs per 9 innings. He's posting up a 5.68 ERA. Like, neither of these guys have been good, but you look at the bullpens, and I really do have a lot more faith here in the LA Dodgers bullpen, because for the Philadelphia Phillies, you got Orion Kerkering, Yohan Duran, pair of guys who'll be able to give you a sub 3 or so ERA. Tim Mesa hasn't necessarily been too bad for this bunch either, but man, you've got a lot of shakiness with some of these other guys. Like, you just don't know what you're going to get out of Jonathan Bolin, even though his ERA has not been too bad this far this season. Tanner Banks now lands on the injury list. Brad Keller is out for the season. And for the LA Dodgers, they're dealing with a little bit of injury as Blake Trinan is currently on the injury list, but he wasn't even that great for the team. Edgar Enriquez has actually been really good. He, Tanner Scott, Alex Vesia, they're giving you a sub 3 ERA. Brock and Roll Stewart coming off the injury list has been solid, and the Dodgers just have by far the better lineup in this game. Shohei Ohtani might be slowed down a little bit by that leg injury, but still 22 home runs, nearly a 400 on base, and then the likes of Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Andy Paz, all with at least 15 home runs, all hitting at least a 263. In the case of Muncy and Freeman, a 360 plus on base. Out of those two guys, haven't gotten a ton off Teoscar Hernandez, who's been dealing with injury throughout the season. Tone rushing has been a little bit of a disappointment too, but overall, I really like the way that they're slugging it out. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, you've been getting a little bit more of the likes of Trey Turner, Alec Boehm. Those guys have been struggling in the infield, but still has been less than great there. You've really been relying upon your main three. Kyle Schwarber, 33 4 bombs with about a 370 on base. Bryce Harper, 21 bombs, 365 on base. And Brandon Marsh has been good as well. Marsh is up to 16 home runs. He's been hitting about a 290 or so, but the catcher spot has been rough. Gabriel Arconis out there in the outfield is giving you nothing whatsoever, so I do think they get a nice high-scoring game. Like the over, so my total 9.6 for the Dodgers, willing to lay up to minus 123 on that money line. 907, 908 on the card. You've got the Braves, and they're going to be playing OC Slam Diego Padres. Michael King hopes to be the king for the Padres, and right now it is listed as to be determined on the betting board, so this is a game that is off the board. It is believed that Martin Perez is going to be pitching in this game in some form or capacity, and if that's the case, I set the Braves at minus 133, willing to lay up to minus 132 there, plus 134 better in on the pods, and then 8.5 or less, like the over on 9 or higher. I'm going to be in on this total to the under for Martin Perez. He's been able to do a pretty solid job in terms of just keeping things out in front of him, being able to keep things in the yard. That said, he's not a guy that's going to completely blow you away or anything like that. Overall for the season, a 3.54 ERA, and this would be his first start in about 16 or so days. He's dealt with a few ailments throughout the season, but overall he's been able to do a solid job. 6.9 strikeouts, 3.5 walks per 9 innings, so I do think that there's going to be quite a bit of regression here because I feel the independent, that's more in the neighborhood about a 443, but good news is you get to go up against the Padres team that entered into Sunday dead last in the big leagues in terms of run creation. The 19th spot that they put up against the Kansas City Royals was able to help out quite a bit, but still, you're really not getting a lot of production out of these guys. Fernando Tatis Jr., he's still stuck on like 7 or so home runs, and he has been able to give you about a 345 on base, but likes of Manny Machado, Jake Cronenworth, Sander Bogarts, Gavin Shee, it's Luis Renifo, Jackson Merrill, all hitting below a 225 for this team. Man, that's rough. And this is a good Padres bullpen. They're in the top 3 in the National League in terms of bullpen area, even with having Jeremiah Estrada currently on the injury list. You've been able to have these guys like Yuki Matsui, Wandy Peralta, Mason Miller be able to give you a sub-3 ERA. The Jason Adam injury has been hurting them as well, but this offense just cannot uplift them, even with Manny Machado giving you 20 home runs, not moving the line. And for the Atlanta Braves, they've been able to find it here a little bit more in the second half. Drake Baldwin, he was rough coming off the injury list. Now he's been able to find it once again. He and Ozzie Albies both hitting above a 265 with 15 plus home runs apiece for Baldwin and Harris. As a matter of fact, 18 home runs apiece, and Harris is hitting a 300. This is not the world's greatest team in terms of drawing walks, but you've been able to have Matt Olson give you 26 home runs. He's done a solid job moving the line, and for the Atlanta Braves, this has been the number 1 team in the National League in terms of bullpen area, so even if you don't get an ideal start for Martin Perez, Lee Dylan Dodd, they've been able to give you sub-3 ERA. Didier Fuentes, sub-3 ERA. Racio Iglesias has been rock solid, and I do think that there's quite a bit of regression coming for Michael King as well. Like, you would think that the strikeout disparity between King and Perez would be very big, but Michael King this season is way down. 7.6 strikeouts, 3.6 walks per 9, a 410 fielding dependent with a 3.34 ERA. So actually very similar numbers between King and Perez. So minus 132 or better, looking at the Braves, plus 134 or better. The Pods, and then 8.5 or less, in on the over 9 or higher, the under. 909, 910 on the card. It's the Twins. They're going to be on the road against the Guardians. It's Slade Ciccone is on the bump for the Guardians, and one Mr. Bailey Ober goes for Minnesota. Minnesota is a underdog of plus 105 to plus 110, minus 125 to minus 130 for Cleveland. 8 is the total. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105, and I'm in on the Guardians. I did set them at a minus 148. Just still really hard to trust him. Bailey Ober, he's looked a bit better ever since coming out the injury list, but overall for the season has just pitched too much contact. 6.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.5 home runs allowed per 9, 432 ERA, 468 fielding independent, and he's backed up by a bullpen that is just not good. 27th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Yandres Gomez has not been too bad in the bullpen, and you've got 1 or 2 guys that have been able to shape up a little bit. Andrew Morris has not been awful, but that said, likes of Travis Adams, he's been able to give you over a 5 ERA. Taylor Rogers, Anthony Banda, these guys have not been great. Cole Sands is now on the injury list, so yeah, it's a real cluster there, and you've been able to get great production out of Byron Buxton. Him coming off the injury list, that is very key for this team, because outside of him, it's a little bit more mix and match, even though you do have Cody Clemens, who's been able to give you 18 home runs this season. You just have a lot of guys like Victor Carantini, Ryan Kreidler, Alec Martin, hitting between about a 235 to a 250 or so. Royce Lewis has been a bit better since coming up from the minor leagues, but he's had his issues as well. Ryan Jefferson is credited above a 360 on base. And then for the Guardians, obviously it's been a struggle for the team offensively. Rhys Hoskins chased a lot, or 11 home runs apiece, but in the case of Hoskins, David Fry, P.D. Halpin, Stephen Kwan, you have a lot of guys. I think below 235, Gabriel Urias, with not a lot of power, so that's been an issue, though. Brian Rocchio has actually been able to give you like a 335 on base. Travis Pisano has been able to move a line as well, but the Guardians are a much better team in terms of their bullpen ERA. Hunter Gaddis back below a 3 with his bullpen ERA, so that has been massive for this team. Yeah, already dealing with an injury to Tim Herron, and Sean Armstrong has had a little bit of a rough year, but Eric Sabrowski, Kate Smith, these guys have been locked down, along with Colin Holderman. So I do think that for the Guardians, they get the job done, because Slade Ciccone, in my opinion, has pitched better than what that 4.55 ERA would indicate. 4.29 fielding dependent, 1.2 home runs, 2.8 walks per 9 innings, and 3 runs or fewer allowed in 11 out of his last 12 starts. So I do like the over of 8 on my total at 8.2, and for the Guardians, we'll end up to minus 147 on the money line. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It's the Rays. They're going to be on the road against the Blue Jays. Griffin Jacks is getting jacked up here for the Rays, and undecided is on the bump for the Blue Jays. This game is off the board. This should be Spencer Miles in some form or capacity, whether he be a bulk guy, whether he be a starter, opener, what have you. And I've got this as a relatively pick'em game for the Blue Jays. Set them at a minus 102, so whatever team is plus money, I'll be looking there. I set a total of an 8.3, 8 or less in on the over, 8.5 or higher, the under. Spencer Miles in his last appearance got relatively lit up, but this has been a guy that has been very solid, posting up a 3.52 ERA, closer to about a 3.10 fielding dependent, 8.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, and I do think that he's going to be able to give you a relatively good start here. And how about the just renaissance that we've seen from Griffin Jacks? This guy was absolutely terrible coming out of the bullpen, and I recognize that he had a rough last start when he was facing off against the Boston Red Sox, but after having an 80 ERA with 3 home runs allowed per 9 innings coming out of the bullpen, as a starter down to a 3.55 ERA, still giving up a little bit too much of the deep ball, about 1.3 or so home runs per 9 innings, but still, he's been significantly better there. Now, it is a bunch in the Blue Jays that has been a little bit, shall we say, shaky with regards to their lineup, even though they've been able to do a nice job in terms of not striking out top 3 team. In terms of field strikeouts on a per at-bat basis, do have the likes of Ernie Clement, Nathan Lukes hitting above a 285, Jonathan Clase has been able to about a 275, but Vlad Guerrero Jr., 6 home runs, hitting about a 260. Just expected a little bit more there. And outside of Kazuma Okamoto, 22 home runs entering into the day on Tuesday. Nobody else on the roster with 10 plus home runs this season, so it's been a little bit of an issue for the Rays. Junior Caminero, something like 13 home runs in his last 19 games. He has been absolutely on fire. He's given you over a 360 on base. Jonathan Aranda, Yandy Diaz, 13 plus bombs. They've been able to give you over a 370 on base. Johnny DeLuca, he's been able to move the line, along with these guys like a Ben Williamson, Nick Fortes. They're doing a solid job towards the bottom of the lineup. Chandler Simpson, 24 plus stolen bags, but you do have to have a bit of trepidation with this Rays bullpen in the bottom 10 in terms of ERA. Casey Lugumina, Cam Boozer, since they picked them up, they've both been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, so that's been relatively solid. Cole Sulzer, a 5 plus ERA though. Garrett Clevenger, it's looked better recently, but it's been rough there. Kevin Kelly, Brian Baker have been relatively solid, and for the Blue Jays, Louis Varland and Tyler Rogers have both been amazing in this bullpen. These are two guys that have been able to give you an ERA that is sub 250. Braden Fisher is starting to come along for the ride as well after he had a little bit of struggle towards like the early part of June, but that said, Jeff Hoffman continues to disappoint. Mason Flaherty been a little bit up and down there, so I relatively pick 'em game. Whatever team is plus money, I'll be taking a look there, and then a year less in on the over 8.5 higher, the under. 913, 914 on the card. We'll now be in conjecture with 933, 934 on the card. If that sounds like it was a little bit of an insert, because it was, because the game yesterday, it got postponed, so now we've got a double dip. The earliest game will be 933, 934, and we do know that it's going to be Dean Kramer going for the Orioles and Jake Bennett going for the Red Sox. And then in game 2, we know that Kyle Bradish goes for the Orioles. It's either going to be Eduardo Rivera or it's going to be Ranger Suarez going for the Red Sox. How about if we go with the known first, with Dean Kramer going against Jake Bennett, and with regards to this one. We were seeing a few openers out there in this game with a minus 146 on the Red Sox, plus 124 on the Baltimore Orioles, total of 9.5, under being minus 112, and the over at a minus 108. And if we could get a minus 145 or better on the Red Sox, I'll be in there. On the initial openers, I was anticipating being able to get a minus 140, so I would be looking there for Jake Bennett. He has just been rock solid for this Boston Red Sox team, and Dean Kramer is giving up a lot of hard contact. I recognize that for Kramer, he's not necessarily had a big sample size here or anything like that. It's only been 5 starts, but he's given up 3.1 home runs per 9 innings. A 4.15 ERA, 6.18 fielding dependent. I do think that irons out a little bit, and he's been up a little bit with his swing and miss stuff. Meanwhile, for Jake Bennett, he's been pitching to a lot of contact. 6.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 0.5 home runs, 1.5 walks per 9 innings, 2.35 ERA, 3.03 fielding dependent. And do you really want to step in the front of the train of the Red Sox, who have won now 14 straight games? I certainly do not. And for this Red Sox team, they actually entered into the second half of the season dead last in terms of run creation at home with only about 3.55 runs per game. You knew that was going to iron out. They are dealing with some injuries as Zaire Falefa hits the injury list, but you've been able to get much more out of Caleb Durbin recently. He's still been a disappointment this year. Do not get me wrong. The Red Sox did not make the world's greatest trade there, but take a look at the last 3 days for him, and he's been hitting darn near 300, so that's been pretty solid for this team. You got these guys like Weiler Abreu, Ceddanne Rafaela, Masataka Yoshida, hitting in the neighborhood about a 335 to a 350 on base. Abreu's up to 15 plus home runs. Wilson Contreras 380 on base. He's been able to give you 20 plus bombs. And then for the Red Sox, this is a number one team in terms of opening area. Teran Guerrero, Garrett Whitlock, Giovanni Moore, and I'll give you a sub 325 ERA. Aroldis Chapman, he's been one of the best closers in all of baseball. And flip side of things for the Orioles, it's not an awful bullpen. They've been getting a little bit better here recently, but still, you do have to have your trepidations with some of these guys like an Anthony Nunez, well above a 4 ERA. Andrew Kittredge has been better, but still, I have to have some question marks there. Yunier Cano, Uncle Rico Garcia, and Tyler Wells, sub 3 ERAs out of those guys. They've really been your main men, and for the Orioles, this team is in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home. Samuel Basayo is right now dealing with a little bit of injury, and Adley Rutschman and Blaze Alexander going on the injury list hurts. Christian Encarnacion Strand is an interesting guy. He should be getting some more at-bats moving forward, but likes of a Jackson Holiday at the bottom of the fold, along with Kobe Mayo, Colton Cowser, these guys hitting at 225 or lower. You need a little bit more there. Tyler O'Neill's been a disappointment. Pete Alonso's up to 20 plus home runs, but with this one, I will be looking at the under if we can get that 9.5. I set my total at 8.7 and minus 145 or better. Looking at the Red Sox, and then the game of mystery. If it's Eduardo Rivera going for the Red Sox, I'd set them at a minus 120. And when it was supposed to be Rivera, it was a relatively pick-em game. I wasn't on the Red Sox on the money line there. If it's Rangers Suarez, I'd be upgrading this closer to about a minus 150, give or take a little bit there. And then with regards to the total with the Rivera, 8.5 or less, I'll be in on the over, 9 or higher to the under. And then if it's Rangers Suarez, 8 or less to the over, 8.5 or higher, I would be looking at that total to the under, as well as this was a total that was right around about 8.5 when Rivera was on the bump, so I was looking at that over for Kyle Bradish. He has been giving up 4 walks per 9 innings. I ain't a respectable ERA, hovering right around about a 365 or so, but the fielding dependent, closer to about a 4, down below 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. After the last 2 seasons, he was getting 11 plus punch-outs per 9, and for Eduardo Rivera, a little bit of a young gun guy. Obviously, you want Ranger Suarez out there, even though he hasn't pitched in 2+ weeks, a guy in Suarez who's been giving you a sub-3 ERA. He's been able to give up only about 0.7 or so home runs per 9 innings, but for Rivera, he's made 3 total appearances. So far, so good out of him. Only 9 in the 3rd inning, so hard to make too much out of that, but 8.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, and when he was down at the minor league level this year, he was posting up a 244 ERA. He was getting 11.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, 0.6 bombs per 9, so I'll probably be on the Red Sox either way in that game number 2. Like I said, though, minus 120 on Rivera, minus 150 on Rangers Suarez, and if you get Rivera, 8.5 or less to the over, 9 or higher to the under, 8 or less to the over, 8.5 or higher to the under if you get Rangers Suarez. 9:15, 9:16 on the card. The White Sox are going to be on the road against the Rangers, as Cal Quantrill is going to be on the bump for the Rangers, and one Mr. Anthony Case is okay to getting another start. And for the White Sox, they do find themselves as a very slim underdog here of minus 104 to minus 105, minus 112 to minus 115 for the Rangers. 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 120. Under is between even and minus 110. And I'm going to be in on the Rangers. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 116 here for Cal Quantrill. I really love the way that he has been able to just go out there and do his job this season. Now, he got lit up in that start against the Atlanta Braves a few nights ago, but still, prior to that, he had given up a combined 4 earned runs in his last 4 appearances, 3.93 ERA. Now, 507 fielding, depending with giving up 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. That's a little bit troublesome, and he pitches to a lot of contact. He only gets about 5.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but Arlington is one of the best ballparks in terms of suppressing offense in all of baseball, and I think that that's very much going to be his friend here going up against a White Sox team that has been really good in terms of hitting the deep ball. This is a top 10 offense in terms of just runs per game. They've got 3 different guys in Montaka, Murakami, Colson, Montgomery, and Miguel Vargas, all with at least 20 home runs this season. Now, Montgomery dealing with a little bit of injury, and Murakami has yet to hit home runs since coming off the injury list. That was going into the day on Tuesday, but even with that, Tristan Peters has been able to move the line, give you about a 350 on base. Sam Antonassi over at 370 on base. Now, need more on some of these guys at the bottom of the fold. The catcher spot has been relatively awful for this team, but that said, Luan Acuna, even though he doesn't really hit for power, he's been able to actually get on base a little bit more recently as well. And for the Texas Rangers, they played going into yesterday, I believe each had their last 9 games to the over. Jake Berger, Jock Peterson have both been giving you 15 plus home runs, and for Mr. Wyatt Langford, he's really done a nice job giving you over 350 on base, about a home run every 20 or so at bats. Joshua Fosky has been able to hit about a 275. Josh Young hitting just below 300. Heck, Nicky Lopez has been able to move line for the team. For the White Sox, it has been an improved bullpen as well. They're a top 8 team in terms of bullpen area since June 1st. Likes of a Sean Newcomb, Brian Hudson, Grant Taylor, they've been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. But for the Texas Rangers, being able to get back Jacob Junis along Jacob Latz because they were dealing with a few injuries with the Jacobs, they've been big. Tyler Alexander has been able to give you a sub 325 ERA as well. So I do think that for the Rangers, you're going to have Cal Quantrill be able to keep things out in front of them, and I am sort of waiting on a little bit of regression here with Anthony Kay. He should be feeling lucky that he's got a 424 ERA, 509 fielding dependent, only about 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, 3.7 walks per 9. So it's a circumstance where with the Rangers, willing to lay up to minus 116 on the money line and do like the 8.5 to the over. So I might tell it at 8.6. 917, 918 on the card. It's the Pirates. They're going to be on the road facing off against the Yankees. Garrett Cole goes for the Yanks, and Mitch Keller goes for the Buccos. And this is going to be actually game 1 of the doubleheader, because this is another game that is going to have a second one, 9:31, 9:32. I would be anticipating what we were supposed to get on Tuesday with Bubba Chandler, Will Warren. We'll get to this game first things first, though, between Cole and Keller. And if you do get Cole versus Keller, I set a total of a 9 or less to the over, 9.5 right to the under. Yankees, I made a minus 163 favorite. I'm willing to lay up to minus 162 there, plus 164 or better. I'm going to be looking at the Pirates. Right now, I've got no openers on this game whatsoever, so they really didn't make my job too easy on this one. But that said, for Garrett Cole, I do think that there's a little bit of positivity doing for him. It's been a rough go of it for him this season after he misses all last year due to injury, and the strikeout stuff isn't necessarily up to Garrett Cole quality, but still, it's been recovering. 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. You take out that first start of the season, and it's closer to about 9.5 punch-outs per 9. Big thing, it's been giving up 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, so it's got a 393 ERA, relatively similar 394 fielding dependent. And for Mitch Keller, he's really not giving up a ton of the deep ball with 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. He's just getting it around. 6.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, 5.14 ERA, and for Keller, throughout his career, he's actually been significantly better at home rather than away from home. We've seen some reverse splits with him thus far this season, and he should benefit from the fact that the New York Yankees entered in the series in their last 23 games, averaging only about 3.3 runs per game. That was improved with their Monday result, but man, it has not been great to say the least for this New York Yankees bunch, as Ben Rice continues to move the line for the team, 29 home runs, 372 on base, but seen Paul Goldschmidt just go straight down the toilet bowl, down to about a 330 on base. He and Cody Bellinger have been really your main constants without Aaron Judge, along with Rice. For Bellinger, about a 345 on base. Perhaps that All-Star game was able to get him going a little bit more, but Ryan McMahon is sitting below a 220. Jazz Chisholm below a 230. He has given you 16 home runs, but still you expect a little bit more there. Yasan Dominguez and these other young guys that they've been calling upon just have not produced. The catcher spot has been miserable, but for the Yankees, they are currently number 1 in the American League in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st. Since June 1st, a 247 bullpen ERA, and you've got a lot of these guys like Paul Blackburn, Brent Hedrick giving you a sub 225 ERA. You've had David Benner go below a 275 ERA. They send Jake Bird down to the minor league level, and now you've got Anel Shavili who's been able to give you good innings, and this is a Pirates team that has found themselves in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. They had Justin Lawrence to begin the season. He was so bad that they had to DFA him. Dennis Santana has seen his ERA go well above a 4. Evan Sisk has been one of the best relievers, and he's currently on the injury list. Isaac Madsen now has an ERA above a 4. Wilber Dotel, when they've relied upon him as a long guy, not necessarily been great there. And for the Pirates, what they've been able to do is supply power. They are second in the league in terms of runs per game. Brandon Lowe getting loud with 21 home runs, and they're doing a lot of this with Oniel Cruz on the injury list. He's been out for quite a while, but Brian Reynolds are near 400 base. Nick Gonzalez sitting above 300. Jake Magnum is sitting above 300 as well. So very interesting circumstance here with Yankees versus Pirates in game number 1. Up to a minus 162 is about a mile away for the Yankees, plus 164 or better. The Buccos, and then 9 or less in on the over 9.5 or the under, and then 931, 932 is going to be that game number 2. If this sounds like an insert, it is, because Max Fried is going to be starting in game 2 for the New York Yankees. Right now, they're about minus 170 favorites, total of 8.5, with the over at a minus 115, under at a minus 105, and right now you're seeing the Pirates about plus 140, plus 145, and I'm going to take the Pirates plus 143 or better, because for Max Fried, he's making his first start since May 13th, and for Fried, he's only made one minor league rehab assignment, and he went 3 innings. How long is he going to be able to go in this game? I recognize that Bubba Chandler, he's had his issues. He's been giving up right around about 5.1, 5.2 walks per 9 innings, but has been a little bit better recently. 2 earned runs or fewer allowed in 3 out of his last 5 starts. Have a Yankees team that in their last 24 games, they've been averaging less than 3.6 runs per game. Pirates average 4.9 runs per game away from home. So getting this plus number on the Pirates, I'm going to be in on that money line, and at an 8.5, I set my total at 8.8. I do like the over. 919, 920 on the card. It's the Royals. They're going to be playing us to the San Francisco Giants. Landon Roop goes for the Giants, and one Mr. Seth Lugo is on the bump for the Royals. The Royals are in a relatively pick'em game here, anywhere between minus 102 to a minus 110. Pretty much minus 110 to a minus 116 for San Francisco. 9 is the total. Over is minus 115, under is minus 105, and I'm in on the Royals. I did set them at a minus 122 for Landon Roop. He's been able to do a nice job keeping the ball in the yard. He's giving up only about 0.6 home runs per 9 innings, but I still do have to have my issues with him because he is giving up the 3.9 walks per 9 innings. Swing and miss stuff has actually been solid too. He's getting about 9.6 or so strikeouts per 9 innings, 333 fielding independent, 398 ERA. But that said, Landon Roop, once again, he benefits from the fact that he pitches in a very nice pitcher-friendly ballpark out there in San Francisco with his ERA on the road that goes a little bit above a 4, and the strikeouts per 9 rate away from home, it's down to about an 8.4. Meanwhile, for Seth Lugo, he's a guy that's not going to go out there, light the world on fire or anything like that in terms of the strikeout numbers, but he's been presentable. 439 ERA, 434 fielding independent, 1.2 home runs, 2.9 walks per 9 innings, and he's been pretty solid here recently. 300 runs or fewer allowed in 3 out of his last 4 starts, and for Seth Lugo, it's big that he's been able to pitch relatively solid here at Kauffman Stadium because they did move the fences in during the offseason. He's always been a guy that's been a little bit better at home. 361 home ERA, 540 ERA away from home, and at home he's giving up less than 0.75 home runs per 9 innings. And you've got a Royals bunch that has been averaging darn near 4.8 runs per game at home. That is a mark that's in the upper half of the big leagues. They're dead last in the big leagues in terms of runs per game away from home, and you're getting a little bit more out of Carter Jensen along Jack Caglione. Caglione, 16 home runs. He's been able to give you darn near 340 on base. Bobby Witt Jr., he continues to give you about a 350 on base. Now, he's day to day. He might not be able to go in this game. Michael Massey, Starling Marte, though, they've been able to hit above a 260. You've been able to get a little bit of production out of Tyler Tolbert as well. Just not a lot of power for the Kansas City Royals. Really, both of these teams have been rough with their offenses. The Giants are in the bottom 6 in terms of run creation as well. And then Salvador Perez, he's had a few home runs recently, but still 13 home runs and less than a 260 on base. That's just unacceptable. Meanwhile, for the Giants, you got Rafael Devers, Casey Schmidt, and Willie Adames, all between 18 to 20 home runs. Adames less than a 300 on base. Devers is starting to pick it up a little bit, and Casey Schmidt is hitting at 275. And then you've got Jung-Ho Lee hitting above a 300. You've been able to get good production out of Luis Arias as well. He was out of the fold yesterday, but should be back for this game. You've had some of these guys like Drew Gilbert and company towards the bottom be a little bit rough, but what else is rough is the fact that the Giants, they have been, in terms of bullpen ERA, in the bottom 5 ever since June 1st, as they're posting up a 5.46 ERA in that time span. Sam Ettiges has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Getting back Keaton Winn, along with having JT Brubaker, both give you a sub-350 ERA, should help, but Caleb Killian has went down the toilet bowl. He, Dylan Smith, Eric Miller, these are guys that have been able to give you above a 3.20 ERA, and a lot of these other mix-and-match guys not been amazing. And for the Royals, they continue to be a bottom 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA as well. Carlos Aceves being out has really hurt them, and then the likes of Matt Strom, Alex Lang, Lucas Erceg posting up an ERA above a 4.50. Steven Cruz, that's been an issue, but with these two bad offenses, I'm willing to bank in on the under. I did somebody total at 8.9 and one to life to minus 122 on that Royals money line. 921, 922 on the card. The Athletics are going to be on the road against the Diamondbacks. Merrill Kelly goes for the Snakes. Engage jump, hopes to not get jumped here for the Athletics. Athletics do find themselves themselves as a even money underdog between minus 102 to even money minus 118 to minus 120 for the Arizona Diamondbacks. 9 to 9.5 is the total. On the 9.5, under is minus 120, the over is even, and on the 9, over is minus 115, under is minus 105, and when it comes to the Athletics, I made them the favorite of a minus 103, so I'm in on them on the money line for Gage Jump. He's been really having some very demonstrative home and road splits, and you're going to find this with a lot of these Athletics pitchers. Overall for the season, 3.78 ERA, 3.10 fielding to pennies. It's only given up 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. The swing and miss stuff has been great. 9.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. It's just a case where when he's pitching Sacramento and or lovely Las Vegas, it has not been great. How about a 0.75 road ERA, not giving up a single home run in 24 innings, 4 bombs giving up in 28 and a third innings with a 6.35 ERA in Sacramento and lovely Las Vegas. Meanwhile, for Merrill Kelly, he just looks washed at this point. I mean, he saw a little bit of an uptick in like late May, early June, but I mean, 5.20 ERA, 5.89 fielding depending. He's giving up 1.9 home runs per 9 innings with no swing and miss, only about 5.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. And when it comes to this Diamondbacks bullpen, really, other than Paul Sewald, I just don't trust at the closer's role. It's been solid. Ray Jemison maybe isn't the world's greatest long guy, but these guys like a Juan Murillo, throwing their Taylor Clark, Jonathan Loaizaga, Kevin Ginkel have all been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, but the offense has been down for the Arizona Diamondbacks this year. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, 18 home runs. He's been able to about a 260. Then you do have Nolan Arenado up to 13 home runs, but still 320 on base. You expect a little bit more there. Corbin Carroll down to about a 345 on base. He's been able to give you 14 home runs. Gabriel Moreno does it at 300. You've had Geraldo Perdomo move the line with over a 355 on base as well, but I mean, these mix and match guys like Ore Barosa, Tommy Troy, Tim Tewa at the bottom of the fold, they've really not been able to give you anything whatsoever. And for the Athletics, they're dealing with the Nick Kurtz injury, no doubt about it. That's a big issue. But Shea Banks, Shea Langolaris, he's been able to give you 20 plus home runs this season. You've got back Jacob Wilson, who's been able to hit above a 290. I really like what I've seen out of Carlos Cortez. He's been able to give you over a 345 on base. They need it because Zach Aloff is also on the injury list as well. And for Tyler Soderstrom, since the beginning of the month of June, when he's been healthy, he's actually been one of the better hitters in all of baseball. So interesting circumstance here. I'm going to take a shot here on the Athletics on the money line at any sort of plus money. And so I told 9.3. So on the 9, I do like the over. 923 and 924 on the card. The Cincinnati Reds, yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're on the road facing off against the Seattle Mariners. Emerson Hancock goes for Seattle. Mr. Brady Singer hopes to have the Seattle Mariners singing the blues, and for the Reds, they're between plus 130 to plus 137, minus 155 to minus 160. Then around Seattle, 8 is the total. Over and under, both at minus 110, seeing a straight 8.5. Under is minus 120, the over is even, and at a plus 138 or better, which we should get a lot of those once the dime lines come out. I'm going to be in on the Reds on the money line for Brady Singer. If you look at the overall season numbers, less than savory to say the least, as he's been posting up an ERA that has been well above a 450 thus far this season. As a matter of fact, the fielding dependent is even worse because he's been giving up 2 home runs per 9 innings, 445 ERA, but a 544 fielding dependent. That said, 2 earned runs or fewer allowed in 7 out of his last 8 starts. He's really been able to pick it up, and he goes up against the Mariners team that's 28th in terms of run creation with about 4.1 runs per game. Now, big dumper Cal Raleigh was able to have a grand slam on Monday, but man, he has been miserable at the plate this far this season. You've had J.P. Crawford give you 10 home runs, but again, a guy that's hitting like a 215, 220 for this team. You've had Dom Ganzone, Colt Young, Luke Raley give you between 13 and 15 home runs, and when Julio Rodriguez has been out there, he's been okay, but problem is he's been banged up. Colt Emerson, their young prospect, sitting right around the Mendoza line of 200 as well, so that's been an issue. And for the Cincinnati Reds, you've got Ellie De La Cruz, J.J. Bleday, both with 16 home runs apiece, along Spencer Steer. Steer most likely going to be out of the fold in this game. He's dealing with a little bit of injury, but De La Cruz 15 plus home bases. Cousin Sal Stewart, he's been able to give you 20 home runs. He's hitting above a 250. Nathaniel Lowe does a solid job moving line. You still need a little bit more on some of these guys like TJ Friedel, Neovali Marte. The guys at the bottom have been a little bit rough, and the Reds bullpen does continue to be rough as well. They have overall for the season been in the bottom 10 in terms of ERA, more around league average ever since June 1st, as you've got the likes of TJ Antone, Brock and Rolberg, who've been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Sam Ball, Pierce Johnson have been a little bit shaky, and still interested in Emilio Pagan. Meanwhile, for the Seattle Mariners, they continue to be a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA themselves. Likes of Gabe Spire, Jose Ferrer, Edward Brazardo have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Andres Munoz has really improved ever since a shaky start to the season as well, but now you've got Matt Brash, Cooper Criswell right now deal with a little bit of injury, and I like what I've seen out of Emerson Hancock this year. He's been one of the biggest renaissance guys in all of baseball. 3.170 ERA, 8.5 strikeouts, 2.3 walks per 9 innings, but still, I do look at this spot. I do think that the Reds provide some value with the way that Singer has improved, so I'm in on the under, so I told 7.3, and at a plus 138 or better, like the Reds money line, 925, 926. On the card, the Cardinals are going to be on the road against the Angels. Reed Detmers goes for the Alos, Hunter Dobbins for the Cardinals, and the Cardinals do find themselves here as a slim underdog, even money to plus 102, minus 120 to minus 122 is that number on Los Angeles, 9 to 9.5 is the total. On the 9, over and under, both minus 110. On the 9.5, under is minus 120, the over is even, and I like the under. I did set my total at 8.4. For Hunter Dobbins, it hasn't been a big sample size, but it's been a solid sample size. He's made 5 total appearances, 4.03 ERA, 4.13 fielding dependent. He's up to 9.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. Now, he has given up about 4 walks per 9 innings, so that's been a little bit of an issue. 1.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but still, I do like the way that he's been able to come out, and he's been able to give this team some relatively good length, and I do think that on the flip side for the Angels, their difficulties on offense are really going to be rearing their ugly head here. And then for Reed Detmers, he has been much better than this 4.16 ERA would indicate. 3.22 fielding dependent, 0.9 home runs, 2.7 walks allowed per 9 innings. He's getting over 10 punch-outs per 9 innings. Now, he does have to go up against a Cardinals team that is second in the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home. They're averaging right around about 5.5 runs per game, and you've got Jordan Walker who's maybe will give you 22 bombs to go with a 290 average. JJ Weatherall along with Alec Burleson, 14 and 15 home runs apiece, both right around about a 350 or so with that on base. Ivan Herrera away from home, it's been able to give you darn near 400 on base. Need a little bit more on some of these guys like a Blaze Jordan Mason win at the bottom of the fold, but overall I'm liking these guys. Now for the Cardinals, I have a little bit of trepidation with the bullpen as Jojo Romero lands on the injury list. Ryan Stanek, Matt Savance just have not been good to say the least. Well above a 4 ERA for both of those guys. Justin Brule's been a little bit better recently. You've had George Soriano, Riley O'Brien be able to hold down the fort end for the LA Angels. They surprisingly haven't been too awful with their bullpen recently. These guys like Sammy Natera, Kirby Yates, Sam Bachman, they've been able to give you a sub 4 ERA. Jay Silseth has been okay in this bullpen as well for the Angels, so they actually see a massive fall off with their offense when they're at home rather than away from home. As a matter of fact, they're currently last in the American League in terms of run creation at home with about 3.75 runs per game. That despite the fact that you've got Mike Trout who's been able to give you 18 plus home runs this season, and Zach Neto, he's been able to give you 18 plus bombs this season as well, but Neto's only hitting about a 235 despite the fact that Trout is above a 375 with his on base. He's hitting like a 232 as well. Ori Soler is barely hitting above the Mendoza line of 200. It's a very all or nothing team. Vaughn Grisham has been able to about a 255, but Logan O'Hoppe, 215 average with 4 home runs at over 200 bats. That's just not cutting it, and they traded away Donovan Walton. So I'm going to be in on the under. I did set my total at a 8.4, and for the Cardinals, willing to lay up to minus 108 on that money line. 927, 928 on the card. It's the Tigers. They're going to be on the road against the Cubs as Colin Ray says hit Pepper to another start, and Cadillo Montero goes for the Tigers. Tigers are a very slim underdog here, between minus 105 to a plus 106, minus 115 to minus 124 for the Cubs. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8. Unders minus 115, the overs minus 105 on the 8.5. Unders minus 120, the overs even, and I set a total of 7.3. I'm going to be in on the under. You're probably wondering why, because both of these guys are pitching to a lot of contact. Colin Ray in the neighborhood about 7 or so strikeouts per 9 innings. Cadillo Montero between 6.2 to 6.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, but wind should be blowing in towards the beginning part of the game right around about 10 miles per hour. Might tame down to closer to about 5 miles per hour towards the end of the game, but you're going to be getting some nice pitching conditions for both of these guys. And Colin Ray is a guy that's going to go out there, really not hurt himself. He's not a guy that's going to light you up or anything like that. 474 ERA, again, 6.8 strikeouts, 3.3 walks per 9 innings, but doesn't give up a ton of the deep ball. Meanwhile, for Cadillo Montero, he's been only giving up about 0.8 home runs and 2 walks per 9 innings, and I really like the way that he's been able to operate, and he's backed up by a bullpen that has actually been really good recently for the Detroit Tigers. How about 5th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA ever since June 1st, as you've got Will Vest currently on the injury list. That's actually a good thing for this team. Now you're getting back some of these guys that have been out for quite a while, like Brendan Hennepy. He should be able to give you some good innings. Either holding down to a sub 350 ERA. Kyle Finnegan has been solid. Don't really trust in Kenley Jansen at the closer's role, but even Drew Anderson has been relatively good as a long guy, and this team continues to be a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation. Deal with the injuries to the likes of Javi Baez, along with Gleyber Torres, has hurt this team, and then just the bottom of the fold is not good. James Ellman, Matt Vierling, Zach McKinstry, Jake Rogers, the backup catcher, like all these guys, running at 225 or lower. You've been able to get some relatively good production here out of Kevin McGonigal, Riley Green, give you over a 375 on base. Outside chance that Gleyber Torres might be able to play in this game. That should be able to help them out, but still, what can you expect out of him, because he's been banged up all season long. And then Curry Carpenter, Spencer Torkelson, they both give you boom. They're both hitting below 225, though, with not necessarily a great on base. And for the Chicago Cubs, we have seen Ian Happ along with Alex Bregman be towards the top of the big leagues in terms of leading the league in terms of men stranded on base. Dansby Swanson has been much better recently, but he had a few really, really hot games, and that has really skewed his numbers, in my opinion. Seiya Suzuki over 350 on base, along with Michael Bush. Bush has not really been able to hit for a lot of average or a ton of power, though. Carson Kelly moves the line, 350 on base, and obviously Peter Armstrong has been amazing, over at 375 on base, 20-plus home runs out of him thus far this season. And for the Cubs, they are going to need a good start because, man, this bullpen is banged up. Obi Milner, Phil Matone, Riley Martin, along with Daniel Palencia, all on the injury list. Trent Thornton is dealing with a little bit of ailment as well, and he's actually been solid. Ryan Rolson, Jacob Webb, they're going to be a sub-350 ERA, but I do think that you're going to be able to get a good start out of Colin Ray, and I think the wind blowing in helps you out for this under. So, like the under, somebody told 7.3, and I'm willing to lay up to minus 123 on the Cubs money line. Wrap things up with 929, 930. It's the Astros. They're going to be playing us to the Miami Marlins. Sandy Alcantara is on the bum for the Fish, and you've got Mr. Peter Lambert going for the Houston Astros. Astros are minus 120 to minus 122. Even money to plus 104 is that number on Miami. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8. Over is minus 120. The under is even on the 8.5. Under is minus 112. Over is minus 108. And set a total of an 8.3. Mostly seeing 8s out there, and personally would rather have an 8 to the over rather than an 8.5 to the under for Sandy Alcantara. He's been able to do a nice job in terms of not hurting himself, but he has been pitching to a lot of contact this year. He's giving up only about 0.9 home runs, 2.4 walks per 9, but he is getting just 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, so do have to have a little bit of trepidation there. Comes in relatively good form. 300 runs or fewer allowed in 4 of his last 5 games. A 1 run or fewer in 3 out of his last 5. And then on the flip side, Peter Lambert, the big thing for him is being able to control the walks because he's been able to do a pretty solid job in terms of keeping things in the yard. 1.1 home runs per 9 innings allowed, but he does give up those 3.5 walks per 9, so 303 ERA, closer to a 408 fielding dependent. Now he does go up against a bunch that has really not been supplying the deep ball too much for the Miami Marlins. This team is in the bottom 7 in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a at-bat basis. Top 3 team, though, in terms of stolen bases. So recognize that Jacob Marcy only hits like a 200, but he, Asteri Ruiz, Otto Lopez have all been able to give you at least 18 stolen bases, and Lopez is sitting at 335. Now, Xavier Edwards has been a little bit in and out of the lineup over the last few days, but should be good to go here. He's been able to hit darn near 300 as well. And then you got Roberto Hernandez, Owen Casey, Kyle Stowers, Liam Hicks, between 12 and 14 home runs apiece. Now, the lone guy that really hits above a 240 has been Hicks, but Javier Sanchez has been able to move line as well. And this is a Miami Marlins team that is dealing with some injuries with regards to the bullpen. John King right now being out, and William Kepner just landed on the injury list as well. That's going to be hurting them, but still a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. You've had Lake Bakar be a relatively solid long guy. Michael Peterson, great name, sub 350 ERA out of him. And flip side for the Astros, they've actually been really good with their bullpen recently. Matter of fact, top 3 team in terms of bullpen ERA ever since June 1st, with the likes of Steven Okert along with Brian King, Josh Hader being able to give you a sub 355 ERA. AJ Bluebaugh, he was really rough towards the beginning part of the season, down below a 365 ERA. He's been a reliable long guy, so don't really trust it on Yel De Los Santos. And for the Astros, this is a team that's a little bit top heavy with the lineup. Yordan Alvarez has been great, 33 home runs, over a 430 on base, and then you've been able to get some relatively good production in terms of moving the line out of Isaac Paredes, 350 on base, a massive pull hitter. Christian Walker has been in and out of the lineup a little bit, but he should be good to go moving forward. 20 home runs, doesn't hit for a ton of average at a 235, but then you have Yunier Diaz, who's right now giving you a 267 on base, and these mix and match outfielders like Bryce Matthews, who's currently on the injury list, Jake Myers, Cam Smith, Zach DeZenzo, Zach Cole, Lamont Wade Jr. So many guys are hitting at 230 or lower. These guys are not giving you really any power aside from Smith, who's had 12 home runs, but again, 283 on base, not getting it done there. Jose Altuve is not necessarily what he has been in the past, so I did set the Marlins here as a very slim minus 101 favorite. Anything of even money or better, I'm in there, and I do like the 8 to the over, and that'll wrap things up for the Wednesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Big thanks to Tanner Kern of DraftKings for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways we have fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_D1. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review, and I'm with you guys every single day, give you guys picks and analysis on every game every day, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you so much.